Greetings, dear friends, thank you so much for joining us. Here we are gathered to discuss Summer Game Fest, the very event that some optimists have been calling the premier game show of the summer. That's because it's hosted by Jeff Kelly, that world-renowned game industry showman who hosts just about every show of more or less significance. When he got on stage, he started showing games. It lasted 2 hours. But people were disappointed. They were asking themselves, "What was that, Jeff?" We didn't seem to be satisfied. Moreover, there were a lot of announcements that didn't surprise us. Most people felt either indifference or rejection when they looked at the various Korean Chinese games with microtransactions or the sudden announcements of new seasons of Call of Duty or Fortnite. That's not what people expect from an exhibition like this. People asked him what happened, but Kelly said, "You see, the thing is, the game industry has gotten so healthy that every major publisher already has their own cool show, and they only sent me little drops like that. Sega showed something weird about Sonic, Capcom showed something Street Fighter-like, even though it's a game that nobody wants. I understand that, but we'll play it nonetheless. Activision Blizzard showed a game that no one asked for once, Crash Team Rumble. But the company that disappointed the most, as usual, was Ubisoft. This company has an amazing talent for deceiving people's expectations and offering them games they don't want to see. This time, the company publicly fucked up the Prince of Persia series. Yes, it's not that the series has done badly. Some people still remember the failed announcement of a remake of Sands of Time, the famous PlayStation 2 era game. But that remake is somewhere in production hell, it's been relaunched there. But Ubisoft still remembers the universe and has shown us Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. But from the looks of it, this is The Lost Clown, if we look at the appearance of the main character. I have an ambivalent attitude to this announcement. Because it's a two-dimensional platformer, could be an action game. On the other hand, this is the trailer that received the maximum number of dislikes. People just hated this project when they saw what Ubisoft showed them. In the comments under the trailer they say, "Well, this is just awesome." First of all, the game is called Prince of Persia. Are you aware that there's no Prince of Persia in this game? Because we're not playing as him, we're playing as his bodyguard, who sets out to rescue a little prince who happens to have been kidnapped. And the bodyguard, judging by his appearance, has escaped from a League of Legends game. But he's so fancy, so cool, with dreadlocks. I wouldn't trust him to guard the back door of the palace, he'd let somebody through. One of the main problems with this trailer is the appearance of the characters. And the second problem is that this trailer once again features a rap song. Well, what is this? Another failure of this event is related to the game from Behavior Interactive, Dead by Daylight. The project is good, it's asymmetric multiplayer, where you, as a maniac, hunt for school children. This time the developers introduced Nicolas Cage, and for some reason Nicolas Cage was invited on stage. And he started talking. And there he was, talking. And there he was, getting into character. And when Nicolas Cage gets into character, there's nothing to stop him. Face off. The man is certainly a wonderful actor. He has a lot of talented roles, but at the same time a lot of frankly shameful movies in which he took part. Certainly he's a great actor, even though his career in the last, 10 years? Maybe even more, has rolled away. People are already starting to compare him to Keanu. Here's finally the Nicolas Cage character coming into the game. Cage is great, but within the confines of a game show, 5 minutes of essentially nothing to trash the actor about. It's such a thing. Another failure of this event can be considered the lack of Kojima. Kojima Genius did not show up to his favorite GIF Kelly.at the same time he recently appeared at an Apple event where he presented a Death Stranding for MacBooks, look, now it's a gaming platform. Well, okay. Kojima came to the US, visited the Apple presentation, probably will stop by in Jeff Kelly to show. Probably a new Death Stranding 2 trailer or something. But no Kojima, genius. decided to skip this show. Another series of strange announcements like this was from Epic Games. Well, as you know, Epic Games has a little store called Epic Games Store, which is feeling pretty bad right now. Largely because they've stopped repurchasing significant high-profile exclusives. Well, except for Assassin's Creed Mirage, except for Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, and Epic Games decided, well, we're a publisher, we're publishers, so we're going to maintain our store's reputation by releasing high-profile, cool games on our own. They have Fortnite, they have Rocket League, they have Fall Guy. But you need some awe-inspiring blockbusters, and to create the kind of awe-inspiring blockbuster that should draw attention to the Epic Games Store, they commissioned Remedy. They're Finnish charlatans, and the charlatans didn't cheat and showed us the Alan Wake 2 trailer, and even, sadly, some gameplay. A dark, dark woman walks through a dark, dark forest, walks into a dark, dark house and meets a dark, dark villain, and now she has the flashlight. First she takes this plague off him, and then she shoots him. All in all, it looks about the same as Alan Wake's first, which in my opinion, does not feature exciting gameplay. Again, I'm not denying the obvious that Alan Wake is played for atmosphere and story, and if the Finnish charlatans don't fail with those two components, the passing gameplay fans will have no problem forgiving the project. The question is open. How many of these fans will be? It's worth remembering that the first project was not commercially successful. The Alan Wake remaster didn't say much success either. Whether the second part will be successful is an open question. Especially since the game's release date is very good, in quotes. Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out on October 12th. No matter how you look at it, it's a famous franchise that hasn't yet been flushed down Ubisoft's golden toilet. And on October 20th, Spider-Man 2 is coming out from Sony, yes, and then on October 17th, right between those two releases, Alan Wake 2 is coming out. I'm no promotional expert. If I were Epic Games, I'd consider moving the game to December sometime. Why not? Also, we were shown a shooter in Witchfire, which we haven't heard anything about for a long time. Well, and it seemed good, a shooter from the Poles, the creators of Painkiller. I mean, the guys are professionals. They announced this project a long time ago. We haven't heard anything about it for a long time, and then the trailer and the release date is September 20th. Look, an Epic Games Store exclusive is finally coming out. One problem, it's a roguelike. The thing is, we've seen a huge amount of announcements from the indie scene in the last few days, and every other project is a farm with beds, cozy. Every first project is some kind of roguelike. Holy shit, you guys are fucked up. Any fresh idea, necessarily roguelike, farm, roguelike, completely forgot about another genre that everyone is trying to master now, survival games. Farms, roguelike, survival games, motherfucker. And instead of being just a normal shooter, let it be in an open world, let it be a looter shooter, let it be some kind of adventure, but no, we'll just have some different arenas, apparently. The hero will be pumped up, then he gets killed, he rolls back and goes forward. It's kind of sad and pathetic, not what I was expecting from these guys. When you watch the gameplay footage of Witchfire, you see a fun shooter when you realize it's a roguelite. Okay, well, as they say on the Epic Games Store, early access, you all know. Also, Epic Games presented a new season of Fortnite, all the schoolchildren are ecstatic, whatever. And we were also told that a game called The Lord of the Rings is not Gollum but Return to Moria. This is a cooperative action game about dwarves who descend into the dungeon of Moria, in order to redo everything there. Build and mine all the ore is also a damn exclusive Epic Games Store. Why not Gollum became their exclusive? Then we laughed, and so a good potential game turns out to be just this exclusive. Of the store. Well, for a year. Well, let's see if in a year they can make a candy cane out of it and then release it into the Steam as it usually is. So, we've dealt with the failures, moving on to the loudest and most significant presentations at the show. Spider-Man 2 suddenly got a presentation with a few pictures and a given release date, as I said, October 20th. I was surprised, by the way. I was hoping that Sony would compete with Starfield, but yet they gave Microsoft a whole month to sell Starfield normally. Weird. I imagined they would have tighter competition and tougher competition. Maybe Sony is playing a giveaway though, guys. Well, you can have a little fun and then a good game will finally come out. It's just that the Spider-Man trailer from the Summer Game Fest event gained over 1 million views on the same aggregator. Another trailer that has garnered over 1 million views is Mortal Kombat 1. Predictably, and in fact, the gameplay presentation of Mortal Kombat 1 was the highlight of the event. We were shown the same graphics as in Mortal Kombat 11. We were shown a slightly modified combat system, we were shown a retrieve, we were shown some fatalities. The game continues the tradition of Mortal Kombat 11. I won't say it's bad, it's good, but it's a relaunch, it's a continuation, it's a relaunch of a continuation of the tradition-DLC for $70 with premium Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, what's familiar? Blood, familiar characters, cute. This time women on the fly, not like Mortal Kombat 11, where the DLC had all these spectacular characters and costumes. This time everything, so to speak, at the start, let the developers of Mortal Kombat go. This is Mortal Kombat, which should be understood. Why is it called Mortal Kombat 1? But in fact it's a character development. The story campaign will tell us why Mileena has such a big mouth, why Kung Lao suddenly has a pointy hat, and so on. That is, first we'll be shown characters who are just martial artists, and then we'll be shown their development into superheroes who will destroy each other cynically and brutally in the arena. I hope, first of all, for the story campaign, because Mortal Kombat, starting from the 9th part, just stands out for a cool story campaign. Unlike Tekken or Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat in this respect is something like Call of Duty from the fighting game world, which here did not forget about the spectacular staged company with not the most naturally coherent plot, with not the most natural perfect decisions. But yes, it comes with a cool company. There's multiplayer, grind, some resources, local crypto. Naturally, it'll all be there to keep you involved for years to come. Also, Jim Carrey, for some reason, started promoting the Witcher series, aka the last one, at this event. Well, the series has already been renewed for seasons 4 and 5, but without Henry Cavill, you know, it won't be the same. And besides that, we were shown a little piece of the show called Twisted Metal. If you don't know what Twisted Metal is, it's an action movie, not even a race. It's just an action movie on wheels, different cars with different abilities. They are driven by maniacs, and they destroy each other on the roads of post-apocalyptic America. It seemed like a good basis for a movie series. There is a corresponding film, there are a lot of movies, which profess a similar approach. But we were shown some weird, stupidly comic, like a scene with this clown. It wasn't funny to fans of the game, it felt like it was just a provincial gathering of cosplayers. Something tells me it's not going to make a Twisted Metal. One of Us series, again, for those not in the know, Twisted Metal and The Last of Us are Sony brands. But it's entirely possible that when sweaty men start making out in that arcade, critics will also shout with delight, "My God, 10 out of 10, as they did with One of Us, geez." Another section that was hard to watch was the conventionally Chinese and Koreans. In general, the donation cesspools showed us pretty pictures of pretty girls, as usual. Naturally, this is all with a bunch of all sorts of effects. The funniest thing, there were shown different games, but I did not immediately realize that these are different games. I'd get distracted, come back, and I'd get the feeling that we were just being shown the same game. So much the same sweet girls, essentially the same armor, the same kind of gray medievalism. The only time I experienced a slight uplift was when we were shown the L trailer for the new season. It's a proper donation cesspool. Watch it, not to be confused, of course, with the Battle Pass. And not only that. In the end, it's just as it should be. Odd that Jeff Keighley didn't suggest looking it up in Honkai Star Rail. Well, I guess he doesn't play anymore, just shows games. Anyway, the commercials figured it out. Also in the Chinese and Korean section is a game called Lies of P, which, oh my god, surprise surprise, is not a donation cesspool. It's Sousal-like, which borrows quite a few ideas from Bloodborne. It's such a cock of Bloodborne. A demo version of the game is available, in particular, on Steam. The project comes out this September and will be available on Xbox Game Pass service. In general, yes, such a promising toy. The next section, what the big publishers showed us. Nothing interesting, for the most part. Electronic Arts presented Immortals of Avium. I do not think that this product is even somehow worth commenting, because it is obvious that it is of little interest to anyone. The main character is annoying, but there were some cool shots. Some kind of charged staging, in some places even some references to BioShock Infinite it seems. On the plus side, Immortals of Avium suffers from an overabundance of these bright features. The game will be released in July of this year. The company Bandai Namco is the same one that recently pleased us, Elder Ring, showed Sandland based on some famous manga. The reel is not bad, such Japanese crap with interesting ideas. Activision, as I said earlier in the video, showed a trailer of the new season of Call of Duty and Crash Team Rumble. All in all, just refreshing memories. We have some games to look forward to. Capcom did about the same thing. It showed the Street Fighter and Exoprimal collab. Also Capcom will have another separate event where they show their actual games, and here they just did Jeff Keighley a little favor. And suddenly Square Enix decided to please us, which introduced two products on the game Final Fantasy VII. To begin with, it's a smartphone donation dump called Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. After all, with Final Fantasy First Soldier this battle royale seems to have been for smartphones, so it all worked out great, and Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is a clone of Honkai Star Rail. What could possibly go wrong? Sure, just like with the battle royale that was in vogue. What could go wrong? We were also shown a trailer of the Final Fantasy VII Remake with the subtitle Rebirth. It's the second part. The graphics show off beautiful locations, well this stone golem here. Okay, fine. Why not? The project is so iconic, rumor has it. That, by the way, was such a major announcement of the show, the main clip that was shown at the end. Well, by the way, the question again about. Not that I know much about it, but nonetheless, you've got Final Fantasy XVI coming out here soon. Yes. You will have a separate Final Fantasy XVI event. But you're not releasing Final Fantasy XVI, you're starting with Final Fantasy VII. Well, that kind of thing, okay. And by the way, about Final Fantasy VII. The game will be on 2 discs. Welcome to the 90s. A lot of people are already making fun of it on the internet, because Square Enix seems to be making this fact that the game on 2 discs is part of a promotional campaign. And how much is it going to cost if it's on 2 discs? Because pirate games at one time cost twice as much if it was on 2 discs. If anything. And here's the interesting thing, the most interesting thing shows that Jeff Keighley doesn't understand anything about the public's interest because he singled out Mortal Kombat 1 to begin with for some reason. Here I agree, Mortal Kombat is a super brand. Final Fantasy he decided to end, and the audience reacted to it in such a way that I think the main game of the show should have ended, the very thing that made my heart beat more often. Path of Exile 2, super trailer, super graphics, animation, meat. Everything is just right. I was looking at it and thinking, Jesus, this looks better than Diablo 4, which I'm playing right now. And Diablo 4 looks bad, it's actually very gray, very monotonous. In Diablo 4, despite the huge size of the world, the eye is often hooked, there's nothing. In Path of Exile 2, straight class. I liked it all, and I'm really looking forward to the presentation, which will be held at the end of July this year. That's where, man, the journey of 10 years, each new update. Well, not better than the last one, but at least introduced some cool new content. Let's hope that the pass took 2 units of Diablo 4, which costs $70 for the base version, and here's a bow pass, and here's a skin store for you. It's going to be much better there, I hope, but for one thing, the game will be conditionally free, which automatically makes it better than Diablo 4. So there you go. There was also Sega, who showed Sonic Superstars. Who cares? Move on to the next game. Another game in the Yakuza series is called Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name. Japanese, what's wrong with you? It's impossible to remember the names of the games. The company Quantic Dream, which is known for Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human, suddenly turned out to be a good publisher, and she presented 2 curious games at this event. It's clear that it's not AAA, but it's not. Less in them. There's some sold directly want to be, for example, a game called Under the Waves. It's some kind of underwater adventure, a very nice atmosphere, judging by the gameplay video. Also, we were introduced to the game Lysfanga the Time Shift Warrior. This is an interesting action game where the main character is able to split into several parts that interact in some way with each other. In general, would also be interesting on. Larian Studios once again reminded at this event that Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out this year for PC, and for PlayStation 5. There is no information yet, although it is possible that there will be an Xbox version in the future. Overall, I'm waiting for this game. It will be interesting to see what they have in the end. Another game I'm really looking forward to this year is Remnant 2. It comes out as early as July 25th and is published by Gearbox Publishing. Those who haven't played the first part should definitely give it a try. You have a little more time, or you can just wait until July 25th and go straight to the second part, which I hope will also be great. It's also a wanker, something akin to Souls. It's a dark, atmospheric cooperative action game where you beat the cool guns out of the bosses, then pump them up and go on to kill even cooler bosses. The first part had great gameplay. I hope it will be just as good in the second part. And finally, the publisher of which can be called the biggest one at this event, because it presented 3 big projects at once. This is Focus Entertainment, which showed us, first of all, the gameplay of Banisher's Ghosts of New Eden. In this game, the main character is trapped and accompanied by some woman, and they are trying to deal with some villains. From the looks of it, this is a concrete God of War clone. Saber Interactive has unveiled a trailer for a game called John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. It is a cooperative zombie killer game where we shoot untold hordes of zombies. In the game, the team travels in a Humvee and shoots zombies, having fun in different ways. A jaunty trailer to the Bon Jovi song. All in all, fun and can be played. Warhammer 40k, Space Marine 2. Also, Saber Interactive Company is preparing for you Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, where you have to. It's not hard to see that there's quite a bit between the 2 games. General.so to speak World War Z 40,000. Cooperative. The passage of the campaign for 2 or 3 is attached. The roller this time was a little longer than the previous one, about 1.5 minutes, but it felt like there were more game moments where space paratroopers without helmets tearing apart hordes of opponents. Looks good too. Promising one of those anticipated projects is coming out this winter. Useless show. There were all sorts of projects on this show that could be categorized as cute. Here's a farm. Here's something about Pokemon chicks. Not the point. To summarize, Summer Game Fest was originally positioned as a show that brings together all the game companies and shows us the coolest announcements. There was supposed to be a lot of advertising, representatives from the biggest companies showing off their coolest games. But something went wrong. The thing is, the modern industry turned out not to need this kind of show. Suddenly, it turns out that there are a lot of people who want to host such events. Some are concentrating on indies. Big companies prefer to do their own separate shows. There are guys who are not unsuccessfully trying to replace Jeff Keighley. There's the Future Game Show, and the PC Game Show. Hopefully, there will be a lot of interesting stuff there as well. In the end, all the meaningful announcements scattered in different directions, and Jeff Keighley was literally picking up the event piece by piece, trying to fill the airwaves. But the show was supposed to last 2 hours, tried to fill that airwaves with invited guests who talked at length about something. It wasn't interesting. Games, or rather trailers, made up most of it. There were just announcements of release dates. We had already seen these games, we had already seen these trailers. You're not going to surprise us with anything. People were waiting for Cyberpunk 2077 at the end, but even for Cyberpunk 2077, Jeff Keighley didn't have the reputation anymore. Jeff has been killing E3 for the last few years, including during COVID. Like, I'll replace you. And when he finished this E3, he came out with his replacement. It turned out that, and why, everyone had already figured out that the concept of Nintendo Direct, an internet show where company representatives directly address players through Direct, worked great. And all this gathering more people in one room to show them off nicely and rant with Nicolas Cage is of no use to anyone. While watching the presentation, I thought at the time that the presentation was weak, that it wasn't good. Yes, when I was watching the trailers before recording the video, I realized that the presentation is stretched, it's smeared with unnecessary things, starting with commercials for Korean junk food of different value. There's this chatter with Cage and stuff like that, and immediately I remembered that the Sony presentation was better perceived. It was better perceived, because just with trailers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's it, let's move on, all this reasoning, this beautiful way out to the audience, all these exits of other people with a little bit of applause, it's a relic of the past. Kelly, you buried it yourself, reap the benefits of your activities, so to speak. This piece of the internet show.so that, dear friends, is all I have. Thank you all for your attention, see you all again.